Well, hello and welcome back to the studio. It's my great pleasure to be talking about the Spain 100 as part of our e-commerce world review. So just some housekeeping things first of all. We've got a lovely audience today. Around 20% of you seem to be in Spain, so we'll cover off some market insights for you. But around 80% of the audience are from outside of Spain. So we're going to try and give you a perspective on the Spanish market based upon our research. And in the top 100, we have taken a subset of our European top 1000 and looked at how the top performing retailers and brands in Spain can be characterized. What are they doing? What are their initiatives? Who are the case studies? And a couple of metrics. Now, we don't have that much time here. So of course, you're going to think, where can I get more information? The answer is simple. It's in the Top 100 report. So when you get your email from us confirming the email, saying where you can find the recording, we'll also put a link in to the research. Now, that research is obviously end of last year, and we all know it's been a busy year. So we are redoing the work for 2021, which is a chance for you to tell us the questions that are important to you. So if you drop me an email, research@retailx.net, then we will take all those questions on board. And also, if you'd like to volunteer to be a case study, to talk to us off the record, we would love to speak with you. So that's all the preliminaries we have. And now it's time to turn to our studio guest. So I am in sunny London, but Carmen San Emeterio, where are you, and tell us who you are.
So good morning to everybody, and my name is Carmen San Emeterio, as Ian said, and I'm the regional director of Tillion, managing Spain, and this is the reason I'm here, to give you my insights and feedback about how the retailers market is moving forward with these disruptions that we have been living since last year. So thank you,
Great.
Ian. I'm glad to be here.
Pleasure. Now, before we dive in to our details, could you just give us a sketch of those disruptions? So in the UK, we are on, I think, lockdown 2, maybe coming out of it. Our office in Amsterdam is even more locked down. But some of our Nordic friends are still running around, having drinks at bars in the snow. So the picture is not the same across Europe. What does the retail market look and feel like in Spain at the moment?
I think 2020 has been a challenging year in Spain, and the impact of the COVID has been quite strong, and especially for the retailers. The point is that if we think about the retailers, they have been doing the same thing for centuries. Which is provide, desired products, shipping them and selling them in physical stores. And I think what's happening in Spain, as well as in the rest of the world, is that right now this business model has been disrupted. So what we are seeing is a changing in the habits of the buyers. What we are seeing is that, the consumers right now are buying often, but they are buying less, and also they are looking for more value. And indeed, last week I was having a conversation with a general manager at a large fashion retailer here in Spain, and he said, well, the change in habits is huge, because we used to sell fashion clothes in our stores, and right now we're selling pajamas and sportswear, online. So the habits has changed a lot, and the consumers are looking for different things. And on the other hand, I think most of the retailers, and probably most of the industries right now, they are accelerating their digital strategy, and indeed they are implementing, or in the pace to implement, a customer-centric strategy. And it means that it depends on the maturity, but if they were low mature retailers, right now they are doing the first steps in e-commerce. But if they were much more mature, what they are doing right now is more implementing online, multi-channel, indeed, in some cases, omnichannel strategies, and building, a whole view of the customer in order to leverage on customer experiences and personalization that has a big impact at the end of the day in the business.
Great. Well, look, I think you've picked up on virtually all of the key points. So thanks for that. Let's come back to those as we go through. So it'd be great now just to get the slides up so we can look at what we are going to cover. So we have the top 100 cover on the right. So as I said, do make sure you look out for that in your inboxes. And Carmen's details and contacts are there. So let's look first of all at the Spanish market. So this is quite interesting because it shows the shape of what the retailers sell. And we can see that the biggest segment in the Spanish market, in the top 100, is for fashion accessories, even slightly more than fashion itself. And looking across these retailers overall, around 1/3, so 30 out of the top 100, are headquartered in Spain. And so this shows that this is a market with a strong and vibrant number of successful retailers, but also a market that is open to the world, to global brands, as well as to format retailers who are selling across borders, as well as having Iberian market area operations. So the full gamut is covered from fashion to automotive. But interesting for us is that alcoholic beverage suppliers ranks more highly and more prominently than in some other countries. So I think we can draw our own conclusions from that, probably around how good the local wines and beers are. Again, looking at then the composition of the business model. So how is it that that people sell? And we split the market into three predominant types. So retailers, these are, as Carmen was saying to begin with, companies that are used to buying and selling in the physical world. They're what we'd normally think of as retailers. And they predominantly sell other people's brands, department stores, specialist stores, sport goods, booksellers. But notice how 1/3, 34, of the retailers, the top retailers, are brands. And these are businesses who are selling their own branded products direct to consumer. And one of the reasons, this is higher in Spain than in most other countries. And this shows how a number of the biggest retailers in Spain are in fact themselves brands. And lastly, we have marketplaces. And these are retailers who are using marketplace techniques in order to extend their product range. Now, interestingly, a lot of those product range extensions are themselves the brands, and therefore we have this balance of the brands who sell directly themselves through marketplaces and through retailers are, on the one hand, the biggest and most important part, but yet they're competing and cooperating with all of the other routes to market. So a very interesting and complex situation on the supply side. But then in figure 4, we also track the web traffic to those 100 retailers. And this is, I think, a fundamental change over the last 5 or 6 years. Namely, that marketplaces are where the consumer chooses to point her browser. And we can see that over half of all web traffic in the Spanish market is now going to marketplaces. Brands are getting around 9%, which is 200 million visits, and the retailers are on 36%, 850 million visits. So that sounds good for the retailers now. However, the brand's direct traffic is the fastest growing. the marketplace is the second fastest growing, and the retailer direct traffic is dropping slightly. So this really is how the consumer is telling us that she wants to shop. Now, Carmen, you look across a large number of clients and data sets. Does this relate to your view on the market?
Yeah, absolutely. Indeed, not only in Spain, but I think worldwide, there are like, yes, simplifying a lot, but three new business models. No, one which is to be a platform, another one which is, I think, to be like kind of a multi-channel, omni-channel retailer, and another one is, well, multinational one, and the third one should be maybe, to be a niche local player. And we are seeing these tendencies of business models here in Spain. Probably the one that is, it's gonna grow a lot in the next year is gonna be the second one, to be the multi-channel a retailer, multinational one, especially for the big retailers here in Spain, leveraging in marketplaces, leveraging in partnerships, and in stakeholders as well. And on the other hand, I think another characteristic of the retailers in Spain is that we have a lot of small, medium business. Some of them are niche players, at least at this moment. And well, this is I see what reflects, the volume of retailers that are moving into online right now. And well, this tendency we will grow also in the future. And then this direct to consumer, which is another tendency, especially for the brands, that is growing very fast, as you said, here in Spain.
Yes, and we're also seeing that if you're a small or medium-sized retailer, then you have typically been very quick to move direct to online. But we're seeing now that those retailers are also using marketplaces to extend their reach, get new customers, and particularly to sell internationally, letting the marketplaces logistics capability help them to scale. So a very interesting mix. And in our European report, we compare the different markets. So although we're talking about Spain now, it is definitely, in terms of marketplaces, slightly higher penetration and still higher than on the retailers, whereas across Europe, we're looking at more like 25%. So again, a marketplace, which I'm sure is going to have a lot of change. Now, you've mentioned maturity, Carmen. I think that's a very interesting point. We measure about 300 performance metrics on our retailers, which comprises about 4,000 data points. And we then add up the performance level across 6 main areas. As you can see in figure 5, that if you took the score, and this is a rough metric, but if you took the overall score of the retailers, then you can see that year on year, in nearly every category of performance, the market has become better and better and better. Whereas the one area that seems to be struggling slightly is the consumer and the customer, and how capable the retailers are at delivering for the customer. And this is everything from on-site presentation, merchandising, selling, customer service, and so on. And one of the reasons that this has dropped slightly is because of the new push into the market by less mature retailers. So we expect to see this increasing in years to come. But it is indicative, though, that in every other aspect, mobile, brand engagement, merchandising, operations logistics, things are getting better every year, around 4 or 5% improvement in growth. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm sure you're thinking, Ian, that all sounds very good, but we like to know who the winners are. Who's doing really well and driving performance here? And so in this figure, we've looked at the index value, the performance for the retailers, and split it out by category of retail. and if you sell across multiple categories, you count in both. What's interesting is that the marketplaces, although they are the biggest, are in some ways the least sophisticated experience. And partly the consumer sort of doesn't care because they're getting the right price, the right product, the right service, but it just lacks maybe some of the functionality, polish, and a little bit of love. Whereas we see then the right-hand side, that clothing, fashion, music, TV, and cosmetics are the ones who are leading in terms of a brilliant online experience, the top level of customer service, the best promise, the best interaction, as well as the capabilities across the business. And again, we'll see in some case studies in a little while that these categories are well represented there. So it's not a criticism. You can see that the clustering is relatively close. But again, the strength, I think, in the Spanish market, homeware, fashion, media, cosmetics, and of course, alcohol, show that a leading level of capability. So who are those companies? So in the report, we identified the elite companies. These are the retailers and brands that aren't just the best, but they are significantly ahead of the rest. And they are excellent in every single one of the dimensions of performance. And then the leading ones are those who are excellent, but maybe less balanced or of a slightly lower size. And again, we're seeing in alphabetical order, Adolfo Dominguez, Bershka, Casa del Libro, H&M, Kiabi, Mango, and Zara. So Carmen, first of all, as somebody who's out shopping, buying online and in stores, how does this elite list resonate with you? Does this feel as if we've captured the retailers and brands that are top of their game?
Yes, I think in general, yes. Well, we are working with some of these companies. Also, when I'm looking at the list of the leading ones, what I think is that there is something in common to all of them, and is the importance they are given to the data. And we have been discussing all these performance KPIs in your previous slides related to merchandising, to customer service, to operations and so on. And I think when I'm looking at these companies, at least the ones that I know much better because of my experience and my work, I think data is something they have in common in terms. This is one of their goals: leveraging their customer data, be more customer centric. Also, some of them have different brands, and they are moving for a multi-brand strategy to a customer centric strategy. Although they will.
That's a really good point. So if you look at, because we measure the facius, the brand, the consumer sees, but behind the scenes with some of the larger groups like Inditex, for example, then they have these enterprise capabilities that they can deploy to the individual brands so they all benefit from those capabilities. But at scale, what are the challenges of bringing a customer-centric strategy to life? What does that mean? Because we all say it, but most of us are just busy, filling the store, sending orders, doing our marketing. What does a customer-centric strategy mean?
This is a very good point. I think there's a first step, which is having the goal of first understanding the customer, and not only from a transactional point of view, also from a behavioral one. And again, with this, we are moving to, getting data, getting information, insights from our customers and prospects in every touch point. And I think the digital improve a lot of the capacity of getting this knowledge. And this should be the first step. But the second point, I think, is, use this data in order to create I would say better experiences in terms of being more relevant, provide not only the right product to the customer, but also transmitting that, and this is, I think, another key point in retailers right now, which is the purpose of our brands or of our company in terms of alignment with the values of the customer. And so I think it's not just about getting this data, getting this insight from the customer. It's also, to use them in order to get much more connected with them. And in these multi-brand companies, what we are not just seeing as, for being in the market, but also as customers, is that sometimes they have a lot of information from different customers because they are interacting with them through different brands, but this is not connected. And, putting all this together will give them much more capacity in order to not only increase, of course, revenue, because if you are able to connect with the customers, you will get much more loyalty and more conversions, more revenue, but also to be much more efficient in understanding where you should invest your money in order, to deliver the experiences and also to sell this product to your customers. So I think it's kind of a cycle, no? I mean, starting
so getting more in order to move on. So let's maybe look at a couple of case studies. Now, these are in the report, so I've just pulled out a couple that I liked. So CASA del LIBRO, again, it's like an early Amazon in Spain, went direct to selling online, great authority, but yet again, Spanish language, including Catalan and not just Castilian Spanish. Very interesting how they focus on convenience as well. So very active stock levels, very active communication with the customers. Again, is this a retailer that you know well, Carmen?
Yeah, I know well. This is part of a big group in Spain, which is the Grupo Planeta. And apart from, they're implementing things that we have already commented, I think one of the things to add is that one of the advantages of Casa del Libro is proximity. They have a lot of stores in Spain, and also if you look at the name, the House of the Book, it's like a place where you go, like to be in your house with a large portfolio of book options, and also they generate a lot of content. So I think proximity is one of the advantages of these.
Yes, and combining that online and offline, so that you can make the most of the store visit because you've prepared in advance or on your mobile. That's very important. And then this is a major success story as a Spanish retailer. They're just about to go through the magic billion euro revenue level, which, on top of a phenomenal number of stores. I mean, there are Mango stores everywhere. But now I think once you can see this billion euro turnover, they're no longer shops with a website. They are becoming a multi-channel retailer. So this is a very significant achievement for them, don't you think?
Absolutely. I think Mango make a big shift some years ago. And also when we had this COVID situation in 2020, they were already prepared, And I think this is also an example of how a company can expand their operations in China. I think they did it quite well. They started some time ago, and I think the way to go to China is also through local partners. So they got experience, and this is part of also of their strategy. And right now they are moving forward and implementing very interesting and I think sophisticated things like virtual assistants and so on. So I think Mango is a really very good customer case of how to go online, how to learn on things that maybe they were not so successful in the past, But
I think that's interesting, that combination of we need to try something, we'll try and get it right, and then we'll roll it out once we've worked out how to optimize it. And I think this is, a lesson for a lot of us. Now, this is an interesting one for me. It's one of the first big Spanish retailers I came across, because my background was multi-category, and El Corte Inglés was, the Spanish example of excellence in multi-category. But it seems to have spent 20 years trying to find the way it can play at enterprise scale in a multi-channel world. So we're now just starting to see that after a number of years of having initiatives, that they really have gone from being an offline retailer. Now I think we can start saying that they are multi-channel, with growing web, that's sophisticated, mobile, improved payments, and so on. But it does seem to me as if data and understanding customer data across all the channels, behind the credit card, who's doing the buying, are they talking to the mother, the daughter, the grandmother, trying to make sense of this wealth of data they have, has been one of their big challenges.
Absolutely. I think this company, El Corte Inglés, is a super good example of how you can balance online and physical stores. And I think this was proved during the lockdown last year, because just thinking about the supermarket, they developed a very nice app, very, very user friendly, and also they leverage on the pickup zones in the big stores for their buyers to pick up, the supermarket deliveries and so on. And then also they collect a lot of data in order to make very easy your next buy. And also, I think one of the advantages of the Corte Inglés is that they are leveraging a lot in partnerships. Yeah, they are doing partnerships. I don't know, for example, I'm thinking about Repsol. Repsol, who is energy company that has a lot of points for you to put the diesel or the gas in your cars. And also they have these small supermarkets, and the Corte Inglés leverage on this in order to deliver their products. So this is an example, but they are leveraging a lot of partnerships, and I think they have a very nice future if they are able to execute as they are proving during this challenging time.
Good. Well, look, speaking of challenging time, looking at supermarkets in particular, and again thinking about partnerships. I mean, a supermarket partnering with Amazon in the same way as we've seen, Amazon starting to deliver Morrison's food in the UK. This is an interesting example. We did some research towards the end of last year, asking consumers how they perceived supermarkets, and we thought that everyone would say, "Oh yes, they've done a good job." But what was interesting was how the consumer really recognized and appreciated the flexibility, the commitment to feeding people, the way they changed their operations to support consumers during lockdown. It has been a time for these very highly optimized businesses. They've just bent and turned and adapted. It's been incredible to see. Now, is this something that you've seen as well? That there's a new appreciation of supermarket capabilities.
Yes, absolutely. Well, we need to think about Spain in terms of this is a sunny country, and everybody
don't rub it in.
And everybody likes to be outside, and and go to the bars and do walking and so on. So what happened right now is that the supermarket is indeed, the physical stores are like the social point. So there are a lot of traffic right now in supermarkets, and I think we'll see some creative ideas around this, I think, in the next few months. And I'm
looking forward to the first supermarket wedding where people met in a queue, and before we know it, they'll be calling their children Dia, or who knows. that.
Yeah. Well, in the case of the completely, this is a low cost, and low cost right now, I think we will see, like a growing tendency because of, most of the people right now are having economical problems. So this is one of the things. And the other thing, again, is partnerships. So if you look at LIA, for example, they have this partnership to deliver their products through Glovo. I don't know how familiar you are with Glovo.
I'm not familiar with Glovo.
Yeah, so Glovo is also an Spanish. It's not just a startup at all. It's a delivery services, but I'd say the people that deliver the products from DIA, from other providers, they do it by bicycle. Okay, so again, we're going back to the sustainability purpose of most of the companies.
Isn't it interesting though how if you look at these partnerships, they range from franchise partnerships across the globe, so geographically dispersed. They work with one of the biggest companies in the world, Amazon. They're working with Glovo, which is smaller scale and local. So if you are on the board of DIA, you're thinking global, hyper-local, partnership, do it myself. Yet you're reaching so many of the consumers, but you don't have, unlike in luxury, you don't have big margins. So you're having to do all of this at high scale, high reliability, low margin. There's just no room for any mistakes.
Absolutely. I think also you are gaining, you mentioned scalability, which is key right now, and also speed to market, and I think, this kind of partnerships, also checking that you have common values in your brands, in terms of what you are transmitting to the customers. But I think they give you a lot of agility and speed to market and scalability, especially in this kind of business, which is low margin, as you said. No?
Well, we've just done a report on innovation in grocery, and we've interviewed the grocers across Europe, asked them how they adapted. And it's very interesting in the UK, the Co-op, which as a movement is across Europe, they even have, they use different delivery partners, whether it's Deliveroo or local city-only ones. But they say their staff are also now packing bags and walking to people's houses to deliver. So again, they're ranging from these, national schemes right down to the individual store and individual addresses. So it's a very exciting time. Let's look quickly then at ZARA, because you can't talk about Spain without mentioning ZARA at least once. And again, they are operating, in terms of excellence, not just top in Spain, but one of the elite brands out of all the ones we measure. And again, what we've been looking at that we're impressed with is the ability now for the improvements in search and navigation, in availability and product checking, which is difficult on a good day, but in the pandemic across countries is really, really a challenge. But yet another type of data, Carmen, for them to manage. So they have their consumer data, marketing data, stock data, but now we have which customer is looking for which product to be delivered to which address, and do they buy before, will they buy again, are they returning? So an enormous feed of interaction and customer data that they're managing.
ZARA is a very interesting example because you know that they don't do, or they didn't do marketing. Okay, the marketing was the physical store, and they were very, very, very reluctant. I would say 10 years ago, when all this e-commerce tendency started, to move to the digital channels. They did it very slow, in a very conservative way, because they were believers of the physical stores. But what we have seen in the last years is that they have shifted their mindset, And right now they are accelerating a lot this digital strategy. And for me, ZARA is one of these companies that is thinking about looking at all the trends that we can see right now in the retailers market. I think they are very thoughtful in understand which ones are temporary ones and which ones are here to stay. So they are not just, what I mean, not running just because, okay, this is the trend. They are thinking about, okay, we're going to invest in these ones, maybe temporary because it's a need, but we are thinking also in the long term, these trends are here to stay, and we are going to invest this as I would say, a structural shift in our way to approach customers. No?
Okay, so let's maybe focus on that. So at the end of the slides now, and again, if you want to share the link, please do so. It's there. But of course, we'll send you that link now. So let's lose the slides because they're only so long we can look at the thank yous. But Carmen, you started talking about changes and whether they are permanent or not permanent. So let me just ask you, what changes are you seeing in overall consumer expectations, probably as a result of the changes of the last year and people being forced online and so on? So what are the changes you've seen, and to what extent are those changes permanent?
Well, I think one of the main one is this shift to digital, which is a need in the short term, but it's here to stay. And also these multi-channel or omni-channel strategies and experiences are here to stay because the customer is much more connected every time. And, we are looking also as customers for these streamlined experiences. And we don't care about if we are connecting with the company through their website or through the store or through a call center. And also another tendency, I think, is we're going to see much more brand content and also maybe sales in social networks, which are very, very relevant right now. And also we will see more new networks. Again, thinking about, I don't know, as example, TikToks and this kind of, social tools that also allow the consumers or the customers to generate content for the brands. Yes. So I think these are trends that are going to here to stay. On the other hand, what I'm thinking is that, well, right now we have these limitations and semi-lockdowns and so on, but physical stores will remain. And I think companies like ZARA, like Tendan, I'm mentioning the Spanish one, of course, but they are rethinking the way they should build these physical stores. So, for example, they maybe should be showrooms, or part of the stores, of the physical store, should be to sell their products, but another part just to deliver product or collect returns or this kind of thing. So they are rethinking the way the physical store should be, but for sure this will remain, especially in countries where you like to walk in the streets, For me, because of the sun, I don't want to say anything more related to it.
We've had us now.
The weather in Spain and the food and all these kind of things, But I think, I think the challenge at this point is, well, we're talking about the future, the trends, but well, there is a limitation, which is all the retailers and I think all these industries that are very impacted by the COVID have in their agendas also the protection of the cash flow. So they need to be very smart in where to invest, when, and so on. And on the other hand, another thing in the agenda of the retailers, of course, because there are a lot of employees in this industry, is the protection of their employees and also the customers, with the situation that we are living. So there are some challenges, but I think we will go back to physical stores at any time. I hope so.
Good. Well, I think we're all hoping that. So, Carmen, can I just say thank you very much? It's been a pleasure chatting with you. But on top of that, it's fantastic to get your nuanced and insightful comments on the market, because we've been looking at it externally. So it's been great to get your insights and views on it. And again, I think a positive overall message, but about a market that is not only changing, but probably that change is going to accelerate in the next year, 2 years, as we deal with this new digitally savvy consumer and building out of lockdown. So, Carmen, it's been a pleasure chatting to you, and I look forward to discussing the 2021 update, which will be along later in the year with you. So thank you very much for that. And of course, thank you everyone for joining us today to hear Carmen's insights as well as our research. So don't forget, you can get the whole report free of charge. Log on, download it. We would love to hear what you think. So it's been our first 100 ranking. It will be an annual update from now on. And of course, we want this to be as useful as possible. So tell us what would be useful. We look forward to hearing from that. Now, we are cracking our way through our e-commerce world review. So if you haven't already signed up for the rest of them, there are 14 other webinars on our reports this week. So if you've missed them, you can download them in retrospect. So for now and for today, it's a big thank you from the studio, from Carmen, and also from me. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks, Ian.